Yo, what is good, guys? Back here, another YouTuber video, and in case you cannot tell by the title below, this video will be a video where I share my honest thoughts and opinions on someone or something going on in this wacky, weird world called professional wrestling. Guys, you can tell by the title below, this video will be a video where I share my story time, my experience meeting the Party Peacock, Dalton Castle. If you have ever met Dalton Castle, would love to know what your experience was like down in the comments below. While you are down there, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, turn on post notification. Of course, you don't have to if you don't want to, but it would mean a lot to myself if you did. And yeah, let's get started with the first of many times I was able to meet Dalton Castle. First autograph I got from Dalton Castle was this one that he had at a Ring of Honor show, which I'll explain, but he put, "To Amanda, fantastic to meet you." You can kind of see the U right there. Then his signature, only big complaint is that I wish that he would have had a silver marker to kind of make the autograph pop out, but that was the first autograph I got from Dalton Castle. So the first time that I met Dalton Castle was back in May of 2016 in Toronto, Ontario. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but it was on a Wednesday, and it was the television tapings for the Ring of Honor New Japan show. I want to say like May 14th or 15th, kind of deal and whatnot. And I was honestly 50-50 on going to it, just like personal life kind of deal and whatnot. And I was just honestly thinking of just giving the ticket to somebody for like, I don't want to say cheap, but for like 25-30 bucks kind of deal, which is I would have lost money on it kind of deal and whatnot. But then I seen that Dalton Castle was going to be a part of the pre-show, and I'm like, I don't want to say this was my one and only chance to meet Castle, but I figured that, hey, I already have a ticket, why not go? Ended up getting to the venue at like 1:30 in the afternoon, in hopes to meeting any wrestlers kind of deal, but specifically Dalton Castle. Did not meet him before the show. Didn't really mind too much because I knew that he was a part of the pre-show meet and greet and whatnot. So I'm like, not necessarily whatever, but like whatever kind of deal. I was able to meet like probably 10-12 wrestlers kind of deal and whatnot, and then went in once the doors opened, met or bought my ticket to meet Dalton Castle, because pre-pandemic ROH had a pretty good, in my opinion, setup where you can meet a certain amount of wrestlers for X amount of money. It's like, I think it was 20 bucks for or 20 bucks for a singles wrestler like Dalton Castle, 30 bucks for a tag team like the Young Bucks, kind of deal. And they sent out the list a week before. Seen Castle was on it, like I said, bought the ticket, walked up to him, and usually I don't, at this point in time, don't really get nervous meeting wrestlers kind of deal. Like, if I do, I try and think of like, hey, they're humans kind of deal that I just pay to meet or get to a venue early to meet kind of deal and whatnot. But either way, walked up to him. I think he could tell I was kind of nervous or giddy kind of deal, like that nervous excitement and whatnot. And he said, hey. I'm like, hey. And he asked me what my name was. I'm like, Amanda. And he's like, nice to meet you, Amanda. And that's when I'm like flat out marking out kind of deal. Like I said, I was going through some stuff in my private life kind of deal, and he through that year and a bit prior, like from April of 2015 to May of 2016, was one of the few bright spots for myself personally kind of deal. And I told him that, hey, I'd seen you outside, would have loved to meet you then and now, but you just looked busy. And he's like, yeah, I was busy, I was a man on a mission kind of deal. And I'm like, you look like you were a man on a mission kind of deal. He apologized for not stopping, and he might not have been able to stop right then, but he would have came out kind of deal, which I appreciated. And then I told him, like, don't worry about it, like, I'm meeting you now kind of deal. And then I told him that, like, Castle was one of my guys, like favorites to watch anywhere in the world since his match against Ashley Six, part of the Top Prospects tournament. And me not knowing at that time, he knew Ashley Six for a bunch of years before. And then I told him like, hey, yeah, like he's from around here and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, I seen him around and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, he's decent. And he's like, yeah, kind of deal. And Castle said, Amanda, right? And I'm like, yeah. And in my head, I'm trying to think, is there any other way to spell Amanda? And whatnot. Did not say it to him because I wasn't thinking straight and whatnot. And then he wrote, like I showed you to Amanda, fantastic to meet you. And when he handed me the 8x10, mind you, it probably took him like 25-30 seconds to write and do the signature kind of deal and whatnot. And I was just watching him do the autograph kind of deal and the signature, and I'm like, holy fuck, I'm at, pardon my French, but holy poopsicles, I actually am meeting him kind of deal and whatnot. And I did not say a word for that 25-30 seconds. And he handed me the 8x10 and he's like, I hope you can read the F. And I'm like, I can read the F and you have neater writing than I do kind of deal. And we laughed, which is the screenshot that you're looking at now. And I have this all on video kind of deal. I just don't know where the video is. Some random memory stick, probably back of the closet kind of deal. And whatnot. But yeah, overall, really good first experience meeting Dalton Castle, and now fast forward roughly a year later. Second autograph I got. This one I did not get myself, but my cousin did for me. Just a blank t-shirt. Dalton Castle signed it right there. And now I'm going to show you the autograph that I was able to get. So the autograph I was able to get was this Global Wars 2015 poster, signed by a whole whack of people. Signed it right there over Naito and whatnot. But yeah, that was the autograph I got signed. Which is where I got those two autographs. Like I mentioned, first one was just a blank white t-shirt my cousin got signed. Second one was, I would say, an 11x16 poster from Global Wars 2015. Signed, and my cousin, casual wrestling fan kind of deal. He would watch it here and there, and when it comes to meeting wrestlers, it's one of those, number one, conversation with them, number two, photo, number three, by quite a bit of a margin, autographs, which is when we went down to Toronto. It was first Sunday of May 2017 kind of deal. I want to say like the 6th or the 7th. Kind of deal and whatnot. And when I brought up the fact that, hey, I want to go down relatively early to the venue to meet wrestlers, he was down for that as long as I brought something for him to get signed for me as a thank you kind of deal. So I'm like, blank t-shirt, easy enough to get signed as opposed to 8x10s and organizing it and all of that stuff kind of deal and whatnot. And so I don't know what his experience was like meeting Dalton Castle or Trent, who kind of came up walking relatively close to each other. Mind you, this was we got there about 3, if I remember right, and like 10 minutes later Castle came walking up kind of deal. Castle and Trent and whatnot. And when I say we, it was myself and one other person, asked Dalton for a photo / autograph. Other like 6 or 7 people, including my cousin, went to Trent kind of deal. So it was nice. So again, don't know what his chit chat was like with Dalton, but for the poster I got signed, I asked him, or I got out the marker once I seen it was Castle, gave one to my cousin, kept one for myself, obviously. Kind of deal. And I asked Dalton, hey, do you mind signing my poster? You don't have to if you don't want to. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he was looking around the poster, and I'm like, you're not on it, but you can sign it wherever you want, kind of deal. Signed it, like I said, right over Naito, kind of deal, which I kind of laugh at now, kind of deal. He signed whatever for the other person, and whatnot, and I asked him, hey, do you mind a quick photo? You don't have to if you don't want to. And he's like, yeah, sure, I don't mind. Where am I looking? And I'm like, that's when I lifted up my phone, and I'm like, give or take the middle kind of deal. Took a couple of photos. One of them is what you see now, and then I told him thank you, this means a lot kind of deal. And he's like, not a problem, have a good one. And then he met other people, and that's when I met Trent kind of deal. And that was like, for myself personally, a cool story. And then fast forward later on in the night, and this one that my cousin and I attended in Toronto for 2017 was equivalent to a WWE house show. Wasn't for TV, was not for pay-per-view or traditional pay-per-view. It was just essentially a live event. And for them, ROH at that time, it was an ROH New Japan show and whatnot. Dalton Castle wrestled in the first half. I think it was a 20-minute intermission, and then there was a second half kind of deal. And like I said, Castle and the Tate twins wrestled in the first half. My cousin and I, intermission, I think he wanted to grab some food or something like that. And I was just like, hey, we'll meet back at our seats like 15 minutes kind of deal, or like 5 minutes before intermission ends kind of deal. We did our own thing, and then I seen that Castle was a part of the, I guess, intermission meet and greet kind of deal. Did not, I figured that I met him earlier in the day and the year prior, so I did not feel like the need to talk to him, hold a spot in line, just to not get a photo or an autograph. So about like 10-12 minutes walked by. I kept an eye on him to make sure that when he had no line, that's when I would go up and walk up to him and tell him some stuff, which I did. And when I walked up to him, we kind of made eye contact, kind of deal, probably 5 feet away from each other. He could tell that I was walking up to him kind of deal and whatnot. And he's like, I met you earlier, right, like outside and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, thanks for signing the poster for myself and the t-shirt for my cousin. We really appreciate you stopping. And he's like, not a problem. Is your cousin around? I'm like, he's probably grabbing food or something. And he's like, Castle was like, oh, are you guys enjoying the show and whatnot? I'm like, yeah, it's ROH kind of deal, well worth the hour-and-a-half drive one way. And he's like, oh, where are you guys from? And we're like Barrie, like north of Barrie, kind of deal. And he's like, oh, well, thank you guys for coming out. And then I told him the personal story of like the struggles I had in my private life in the year from April 2015 till May of 2016, and how I met him this time, like May of 2015, and it was the first time, or May of 2016, I apologize. Told him how it was the first time in like over 13 months I had a genuine smile on my face, and I just want to thank you for that kind of deal. Like, it's one thing reading it online, and it's another thing to hear it in person. And he's like, yeah, it is. Either way, I really appreciate knowing that stuff. I'm sorry that you had to experience that, but just know that I and the wrestlers really appreciate like stories like that, not necessarily like what you went through, but like how we helped you through a hard time, or that was pretty much the gist of it. I'm like, well, no thank you, because you guys are the ones that I didn't say put your lives on the line, but like put your bodies on the line for our entertainment kind of deal and whatnot. And yeah, mind you, the couple of months later, I think it was that December, he won the world title with a broken freaking back. And kind of looking back on it now, he was sitting down the entire time, meeting anybody kind of deal. And he probably felt the side effects of the messed up back in May of 2017. But either way, told him the story. It seemed like he appreciated it. I appreciate actually telling him in person and whatnot. But yeah, that was I guess technically second and third time I met him. Did not get a photo with him part of the intermission, mostly because I already had one from the afternoon, like what you're seeing now kind of deal and whatnot. But yeah, that was the second and third time. Fast forward to a month later at a non-ROH show, a Smash Wrestling event in June kind of deal and whatnot. But yeah, let me show you that autograph now. The next set of autographs, first of two that I met him at a independent show, was this 8x10 to Amanda, Limber Up, and then again his signature right there, similar to the 8x10 build before. I wish that either he or I had a silver marker, then again could pop over that 8x10. And the second autograph that I was able to get signed was this poster. I think it was 11x16 poster. He signed it over his face, and believe me, it looks better in person than it does on camera and whatnot. So those were the two autographs that I was able to get signed. The 8x10 he brought, and then the poster. I did not make that. I wish I was that talented. I'm not, but somebody was selling it for like $2 or $3, so I figured why not, and it was the event poster kind of deal. So again, why not kind of deal and whatnot. But either way, I heard about, so I knew about Smash Wrestling for like 6-7 years at that point. You could argue one of the top 2 wrestling promotion, independent wrestling promotions in Ontario back then or now, kind of deal. And I wanted to go for, again, 6-7 years, but always unable to go for whatever reason. And once, it was probably about a week or 2 after the ROH event, kind of deal, like it was ROH, Mother's Day, and then the weekend after that is when I heard about the Dalton Castle being there and whatnot, and I'm like, I kinda sorta wanna go kind of deal and get a hotel and like just walk around Toronto kind of deal before or after the event kind of deal. Ended up doing that with my 2 of my family members. Kind of deal. Went to the wrestling event by myself. They did their own thing. Kind of deal. So got to the event. My mini plan was to meet Dalton Castle before the show, buy a t-shirt, maybe a photo, maybe not, don't know. Kind of deal. Like take a photo with him, then meet him again during intermission for an 8x10, and then a photo for sure. He was not out before the show, which I was a little bit bummed about, but it is what it is. Kind of deal. He wrestled in the first half, and it was part of the Gold Rush or Smash Wrestling Gold Rush 2017 tournament. Kind of deal, and he wrestled Mark Haskins in the first half and whatnot. Ended up losing, but during his entrance, he did his entrance. He walked to the side of the ring I was on, or sitting or standing at that time. We made eye contact, and he kind of like smiled and nodded. So I don't know for sure if he like recognized me then, kind of deal, or if it was like kind of feeling the music, feeling the Smash crowd, kind of deal and whatnot. But he wrestled, he lost, I was bummed, kind of deal, but I was able to throw streamers in the ring that did not miss the ring, kind of deal, and did not hit anybody in the back of the head, I think, and whatnot. But either way, like I said, he lost. Good event, and whatnot overall, but it was, I think it was his match, one more match, and then intermission, kind of deal, if I remember right, and whatnot. And I'm like, no matter what, I gotta meet Dalton Castle, kind of deal. Like, I drove that hour and a half to Toronto, dealt with Toronto, not necessarily just for Dalton, but like 99%, kind of deal and whatnot. And I seen him walk up to the part of the venue where the wrestlers were selling merch, and I'm like made a beeline without hurting or running over people or chairs or camera equipment, kind of deal. So bravo to me, kind of deal. And I walked up, and where they were selling merch, it was a little bit of a stage kind of deal, or at least like 5 inches step up kind of deal and whatnot, and got up on that mini stage, accidentally hit, like elbowed somebody. Person I elbowed was wearing a Dalton Castle shirt, and by this time Castle was on the other side. We were like, there was us, 2 feet, normal table, other side of the table was Dalton Castle, kind of deal and whatnot. And when I seen the shirt that he was wearing, I asked him if he was in line for Dalton Castle. Castle was setting up his merch, so we didn't want to bug him. And myself and the other person was like, yes and no, I want to meet Castle, but I'm also kind of wanting to meet this other wrestler too, so whoever's done first is where I hope to go, kind of deal. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Nice shirt, by the way, and yada yada yada. Probably 30 seconds after that conversation, or conversation started, Castle looked up to see if he had a line. He looked back down, he looked up, and myself and the not buddy, but the person who I was talking to immediately looked at Dalton Castle, kind of deal. And he pointed to me, and I'm like, me? Or pointing to the guy next to me, and he's like, nope. And then me pointed to myself, and he's like, yep. And then he's like, come here, like that finger, like, come here, kind of deal. Took the 2 or 3 steps, kind of deal, and he's like, you were, I met you before, like for ROH at whatever arena, right? I'm like, yeah, Ted Reeve, like a month ago. And he's like, oh man, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Like, all of that, like, super friendly stuff. And I'm like, yeah, everything's, like, good. Thanks again for signing stuff for myself and my cousin in the chit-chat during intermission. He's like, not a problem. Is your cousin here? I'm like, no, he had other stuff going on. And he's like, oh man, okay, I guess, kind of deal. And then I told him that, hey, I'm pretty much came here 99% of the reason was to meet you. And he's like, oh really? Kind of deal, like kind of surprised. I'm like, yeah, like when I told you you were one of my guys, I meant it, you're one of my guys, and whatnot. And he kind of laughed and whatnot, and like, I want to buy something from you, and like whatnot. And he's like, oh well, what do you want to buy? Like, all of these shirts are, like, you could also get on Pro Wrestling Tees. I also have a couple of 8x10s, and I'm like, I want that 8x10, the one that I just showed you, kind of deal. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, and whatnot. And I forget what shirt I wanted, but I asked him if he had it in a large. He did not, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. For sure, the 8x10 then. And he's like, okay, what's your name again? I'm not the best with the names. And I'm like, Amanda, normal spelling. And he laughed. He wrote what I showed you. And then I asked him, hey, do you mind signing this poster? You don't have to if you don't want to. And he's like, yeah, sure. Kind of deal. Signed it over himself and whatnot, and took a photo with him, which you're probably seeing now, kind of deal. And I don't know if I mentioned that, but 2 autographs and a photo for 20 bucks Canadian, a good deal, whatnot. But yeah, being able to meet him and him kind of recognize myself, pretty gosh darn cool, kind of deal. And mind you, 6 months later, he was world champion for Ring of Honor, kind of deal and whatnot. I think it was 6 months later. I think it was 2017. He won it. If I'm wrong, I was born blonde, and whatnot. But either way, I met Dalton Castle that time, and whatnot. Definitely worth it for myself personally, and whatnot. But yeah, that was not the last time I met him. The next time I met him was back to Ring of Honor, not at Ted Reeve Community Arena like the other ones were, but at the old Maple Leaf Gardens. So the next time, and so far last time that I met Dalton Castle was Remembrance Day 2018, 11/11/2018, kind of deal, in Toronto at the old Maple Leaf Gardens. Mattamy Athletic Center is what it's called nowadays, or in recent times at least, and whatnot. Did not meet him before the show, sadly, but I was able to meet the Young Bucks, which might be a different video now that I think about it, and the Kingdom, kind of deal. Taven, TK O'Ryan, and Vincent, kind of deal. And big reason why I'm picking or saying this is because it plays into my experience meeting Castle, kind of deal. But either way, Tate twins, the boys, whatever you would prefer to know them as, I was wearing their mask like on top of my head, kind of deal, because I don't think at that time I had a Castle t-shirt, kind of deal, or at least I don't think I did, and whatnot. So when I met the Kingdom, kind of deal, Taven wrote on the 8x10, Amanda, take off your mask, kind of deal. Fast forward to the end of the show, and I was waiting in the lobby. So for people who have never been to the new Maple Leaf Gardens Mattamy Athletic Center, there's like the lobby kind of deal, and then 2 sets, you have to go up 2 sets of stairs or 2 escalators kind of deal, and then the wrestling or like the ice hockey's on the 3rd floor kind of deal. And I was waiting in the lobby because again, I was in Toronto with some family spending the night there and whatnot, and I did not want to wait outside kind of deal because it was not necessarily freezing, but it was like 2-3 degrees Celsius, so it was cold enough and might as well stay inside kind of deal. And then probably about 20 minutes later kind of deal, like waiting, like told my family to take their time, no rush kind of deal. I heard or started to hear a lot of people talking from like the 2nd floor coming down to the 1st. I'm like, oh, okay, there's the rest of the wrestling fans kind of deal. Then I look up about a quarter of the way down the escalator. I seen Vincent, I seen TK O'Ryan, and I seen Taven. Taven and I locked eyes. They got down like halfway down the escalator, and Taven's like, when we made eye contact about that time, take off your mask kind of deal. Like, you could say yelling, not necessarily screaming, but using his outdoor voice inside kind of deal towards me. And I kind of like looked around quickly, like, is he talking to me? Is he kind of calling me out? Yep, okay. And I'm like, kind of shrugged my shoulders and kind of shook my head no, kind of deal and whatnot, because I did not feel like yelling at that time. There were still not necessarily a lot of people, but enough people, kind of deal. Let them get off the escalators, and when they were going down, I got out my phone, got it on camera selfie kind of deal and whatnot, because I figured Castle, likelihood of him stopping isn't all that great, but I would rather try it. And Castle was like right behind Taven kind of deal and whatnot. So when Taven yelled take off the mask, I'm like no, and then when I shook my head no, that's when I seen Castle was behind him. I'm like, oh shoot, sugar honey iced tea kind of deal and whatnot. And whatnot, like I said, got on my phone, all of this stuff. TK and Vincent kind of walked by. Not necessarily whatever, but kind of in enough character for me not to bug him. And then Taven's like, put down your phone, I'm not stopping for another photo with you. I'm like, I don't want a photo with you again. And he's like, good, kind of deal. And then Castle, kind of, I don't want to say walk by, but there was enough of a gap, like probably like 10 feet, maybe not that much, but several feet in between. And then that's when I seen Castle. I'm like, hey, Castle, do you mind a quick photo? You don't have to if you don't want to. And he's like, yes, only for you because you're wearing the boys' masks, kind of deal. Like, kind of yelling that, or saying that to me, but yelling it towards Taven, because they were in a feud at this time, kind of deal. So took a photo or two, kind of deal, and I told him thanks, and he's like, not a problem, continue wearing your mask, kind of deal. And I'm like kind of chuckling at myself, and that's when my family walked in and whatnot, and they were confused, and I was kind of confused too, but in a good way, and whatnot. But yeah, those are my experiences meeting Dalton Castle and whatnot. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Again, probably a long one, apologize for that, but Dalton Castle, said it a couple of times, he's one of my guys and whatnot. But yeah, that's it. This is would love to know what your experience was like meeting Castle, if you met him and whatnot. But yeah, that is it for this video. Feel free to hit the like, subscribe, turn on post notification. I hope you guys are doing okay, mentally, emotionally, physically as well.
The world that we tend to make up is nothing but a fantasy until you wake up. I feel like I'm just lying to myself, yeah. Cause I just crossed the line like I'm playing offside. I do it how I want and I'ma do it till I die. I feel like I'm just lying to myself, but it's